And joining us now in the studio is Mr. Piotr Kaczyński from the Geremek Foundation. Sir, pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Good morning.
All right, well, before we begin, let's take a listen to exactly what Prime Minister Tusk had to say about the Migration Pact.
Poland had voted against the Migration Pact in its current form. From the beginning, the Polish position on this matter was clear. The Migration Pact gives Poland the ability to avoid any of its negative consequences. As a result, Poland will not be taking in any migrants as part of this program. Poland has already accepted hundreds of thousands of refugees because of the Russian-Ukrainian war. We have tens of thousands of migrants from Belarus as well. My responsibility, which I fulfill, is to make Poland a beneficiary of the Migration Pact. We will not pay for anything, we will not have to accept any migrants from other places, and the EU will not impose any migrant quotas on us. Poland will effectively use financial support from the EU, as it has become a host country for hundreds of thousands of migrants, mainly from Ukraine.
All right, Mr. Kaczyński, so some very decisive words there from Prime Minister Tusk. Is this a surprise? I mean, it wouldn't have been a surprise with the previous government. He's made it very clear that they even threatened legal action against the European Union. But I think a lot of people expected an opposite reaction from this new government.
Well, let me put it this way. In 2015, we had Migration Pact. And when people are listening, Migration Pact, what is the association with these words? People are thinking, oh my God, EU will force us to take people. And this is why this government also was voting against. But what Tusk was saying, he basically said, we lost the vote, but we will respect the outcome. And then when he was saying that Poland will not accept refugees or migrants, it's because there are many refugees and migrants in Poland right now from Ukraine and Belarus, like the Prime Minister said. So if you look into this law, which is coming to be in effect in 2026, it's effectively a situation when a country is overwhelmed by some situation like Italy or Greece or Poland in 2022, then those countries can ask other countries to help us. And then you have those three situations what other countries can do. And this is one of those issues that are gonna be in 2026.
Right, but many claim that, well, a refusal is a refusal. So how does Poland's refusal to accept refugees, do you feel, affect overall solidarity among the EU member states?
Oh, it doesn't affect, because Poland will refuse because we are overwhelmed with the other migrants. So if you ask the Greeks, for example, will they accept refugees from Ukraine? Will they accept refugees from, let's say, Canary Islands? Or they are going to say, sorry guys, but our camps in the Greek islands are overwhelmed. This is exactly the same situation.
Well, it is exactly the same situation. And also, there's an issue as well with the asylum rules themselves, isn't there? And this pact also introduces some new elements to the asylum rules. Can you explain a little bit to us what changes are being made there?
Sure. So, for example, and this is why it's being critiqued by some NGOs that are human rights protectors, and they are saying that basically this new law will say, oh, this person is coming from a country which has everybody who's coming from there have a negative opinion whether they will or not get a refugee status. So if that's 20%, and if this is going to happen like this, well, is this what we are doing with one individual, or is this a group perspective? And this is why it's quite controversial.
And what are other aspects of this pact? Are we now talking also about strengthening external EU borders?
Yes, we are talking about strengthening external borders because this pact is saying that when people are, let's see what was happening in 2015 and after 2015. People were coming to Europe, but Europe where? They were crossing the border to, let's say, Greece or Italy, and they were coming to France, and then they were comes in France to go to the UK, right? So they were a bit shopping between different places, and this right now will be stopped because the procedure will be the same everywhere.
Okay. And now we're also looking, there was some statement made by Prime Minister Tusk that Poland can actually gain from this pact. So the amount of refugees that we accepted, and as you mentioned in 2022, that might add to Poland sort of, because there's a financial element to this as well, isn't there?
Yes, yes, and exactly. And so there's a financial assistance that is going to be provided by the EU, let's put it this way, as Commissioner that is responsible for this portfolio was saying a couple of months ago. She said basically that, look, we are looking what is going on in Greece, but also in Poland and in Spain, Italy, and they are reacting to what's going on. So if, for example, Bulgaria is overwhelmed from Syrian refugees coming from Turkey, then there's a big problem, and the EU needs to provide some assistance. And when Tusk is talking about it, he's talking about this issue that EU was not really spending so many money for the refugees in Poland, but it was a burden for the Polish state.
Well, it was, of course, also the burden not only for Poland, but like you mentioned, also other countries affected now by the influx of migrants. And as the pact itself addresses also issues such as asylum procedures and border management, like you mentioned. But if we could break it down, what exactly does this asylum procedure mean? How will it look like? Do we have any, let's say, outline on how might it look like?
Well, the big promise out there is that there's a database called EU duck, and this EU duck, it's not like the animal duck, but DUC, and EU duck is supposed to work much better than until now. There are many critics who are saying that EU duck has plenty of loopholes, and right now this EU duck will be like 2.0, should be much better. Whether it's going to work like this, well, you know, we also have 2 years until 2026 to make sure that those things are going to work effectively.
All right, and finally, I suppose the final question would be, what do we do to stop this influx of migrants in the first place?
This is a huge question, huh? This is a huge question. What do we do to stop the influx of the migrants? I would say that there's one thing when we have conflictual situations. When you have refugees coming from Yemen or Syria or Afghanistan, it's a completely different story. But if we talk about general economic situation and poverty in many countries in southern the global south, then it is in our interest to make sure that especially Africa has a perspective. If you look at the median age in Africa, 18 years. This is a median age in Africa. In Europe, 45.
Well, that's honestly, when we look at this, that's quite a distinction here.
Quite a distinction. All right, sir, always a pleasure to speak with you. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.